Hi, and welcome to Lisa's Stamp Studio. My name is Lisa Curcio.
And my name is Gina Curcio-Hawley, or better known as her daughter.
We are so glad that you are here with us today for the special edition YouTube premiere.
Yes.
We are here to interact with you as well.
Right now, in the live comments.
Go ahead and log into your YouTube account, which is your Gmail address. That is a requirement of YouTube.
Not of ours.
No, it's not. But that's what's required in order for you to chat. Whether you are watching here the stream through the premiere or you are here watching the replay. Now the chat can be anywhere, depending on your device. It's a little bit different on each device. But we would love to chat with you, and we do come back and read every single comment.
Yes, we do. We have 6 projects for you today. Yes, 6.
Yep.
And we're making a pop-up box card.
So cute. Wait until you see it. And guess what?
It fits
in an envelope. I know. That's the best part. Everybody's like, no, it doesn't fit in an envelope.
We'll show you.
It does.
Now, if you're wondering, okay, how do you make this card? Besides the demonstration that we're going to do together today, we also have a project sheet. Now, that includes all your cutting dimensions, full color photos, and a complete supply list for all 6 samples that we have today.
If you are here with us during the premiere live chat, we're also going to provide that link right here as well. But again, you're going to be able to find the link down in the video description below.
What do you say? Let's get started?
Yes, let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, so my mom and I are both here. We're going to both be demonstrating at the same time, but different projects. It's going to be really fun. First things first, we need to start scoring our card, but I want to tell you about this paper trimmer. I love this thing, and for 2 reasons. It has a scoring blade and a cutting blade, and they're both on the same track. I love this because I hate switching between a scorer and a cutter, but they're both here for you. They're excellent. The other thing I love about it is if you open it, you can see that it goes all the way to the 1.5 inch. I love that because I can put my hand on the paper, put it down and cut or score. I don't have to worry about it wiggling too much. The other awesome thing about this is it extends all the way to 17 inches, but it's super compact. Isn't that great?
It is. I love this trimmer.
Yeah.
Best one we've ever had. And quite frankly, not because we sell it. It is the best one
it
on the
really
market.
is, yeah. All right, so let's get to scoring.
Okay, great. I've got Calypso Coral cardstock that I'm going to be using for this pop-up card base. I just navigated that blade out of the way. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open this, and these are super simple scoring directions. You're going to be able to find these all in that project sheet. Down in the video description below is where the link is. So we're going to line this up at 2 inches. There's a nice straight edge here at the top. Don't you love that?
I love that.
Okay, and we're going to score from the top to the bottom at 2. Then I'm going to slide over to 4, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Now we're going to slide over to 6, which is here. There's a little arrow here. It's really easy to see when you're in person. And then we are going to score. And now this is where that extension arm is going to come into play. We're going to open that up, and we are going to come over to the 8-inch mark, and we are going to line that up. And we are going to score. Now, I know that seems like a small area, but that's where we're going to put the adhesive.
That's where we need it, yeah.
So all you're going to do now is you're going to turn this, just rotate it a 1/4 turn, and you're going to line this up at the 2 3/4 inch mark. Once it's lined up there, you're going to score one more time. Now, that's it. Now, the next part, you can use your scissors. I love this trimmer because of that clear guide.
Right.
So I'm actually going to use my trimmer for this.
Yeah.
Did you use your scissors?
No, I use the trimmer.
Yeah, this is the great part of the trimmer. A lot of trimmers, this is colored and it's hard to see, but with this one, it's fantastic. This halfway point here is the delineation between the top half and the bottom half of this box. So you only want to cut up to that area here at the center.
Right.
So let's go ahead and put this back in the trimmer, and you can mimic those cutting dimensions again, which is actually the easiest way to do this. Yeah. So let's start over here at 2 inches. I will tell you, I tried doing it like, thinking I was all fancy and just score and then cut. That didn't work. That didn't work.
Not that talented.
No. So we're going to come up here to the 2-inch mark, and we are going to cut right down to that center score line. I love this too because there's a little mark on the trimmer blade.
I know, that saved my life.
Yeah, it really just allows you to line it up really easy. So that's the 2. And then I'm just going to start right here because I'm already there.
That's what I did too, yep.
And then cut up and then back over to 6. And now I'm at the top again. So now down to here. And I can see that score line right through that trimmer. And then we're going to open this up one more time. And we're going to come over here to the 8. and then the exact same thing. I'm just going to slide that down. You can almost kind of feel that impression,
Right.
can't you? Now, this little tab here at the top, we really don't need, because this is going to be the top flap to the box.
Right.
But this we need.
Yes, that's where the adhesive goes.
Right. So we're going to take off just the top half there. So I'm looking to align this at the 2 3/4 inch. Remember, that's where we scored it.
Yep.
And I'm just cutting that little tiny bit. And again, if you're more comfortable with your scissors,
You can just pop that out.
yeah,
Yep.
there we go.
Perfect.
That's it for cutting and scoring.
Yeah, let me tell them about the bone folder.
Absolutely.
All right, so I have the same scoring dimensions as my mom over here. I'm using Night of Navy, and all my scoring and cutting has already been done. I'm bringing in my favorite tool, which is the bone folder.
Oh, yeah.
You know, hers is the take or pick tool, but I'm a bone folder fan, so we're going to be using this. And the number one reason we need to use this for a fun fold project is because you have all these creases and cuts, and you want to make sure those score lines are crisp, especially when you mail it, and especially with this pop-up card.
Yeah.
We're going to avoid this, okay? Do not at all crease this with your bone folder, okay? And that's a reason why. We'll go over that a little bit later. So let's start. What we're gonna do is we're gonna fold in and just run that. Fold in again. And I know one more time.
So you just don't want to fold it down the center.
Right,
Okay.
exactly. Now let's fold down
Only on this one on the left, right? And then,
and then down the middle. And then one more time.
right, but not that one.
Not that one. But you do want to make sure you crease this little flap right here,
Yeah.
because this is where our adhesive is gonna
Yeah.
go.
Now, do you decorate it flat? Or do you
I
put
do.
it together?
I decorate it flat.
You know what? I didn't.
You didn't?
No, let's do it 2 different ways so they can have options. All right, let me go ahead and just close mine up. Remember, this is going to be where the adhesive goes. So I'm going to open this up. I've got my silicone craft sheet, which I absolutely love, which means if I get a little excited with the adhesive, it won't fall on my work surface and make it sticky.
Yeah, I love that.
All right, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this little flap in, and then you just close this on top of itself like it's a book.
Interesting.
There you go.
That's definitely easier than my way.
It is?
I'll be honest.
Okay, because I found then I can just kind of flip this and I know where the panels are going to go.
Right.
Intuitively, I like to put what I call the ugly side on the back.
Same, yeah.
Yeah, so remember, one of these we didn't score. This is the one that's more rigid than the others. That's going to be really, really important. All right, so now that we've got that,
Let's start decorating.
all right, let's get our designer series paper out.
All right, so I'm gonna bring in my designer series paper. I'm using Beauty of the Earth, and these are cut at 1 7/8 by 2 5/8. I love Stampin' Up's designer series paper because it's double-sided.
I know, isn't that great?
It is beautiful, and the best part is one is definitely themed for a certain time of year, and the other you can use all year round.
Right.
I love it. All
Great
right.
for your purchase, isn't it?
Yes, so let's start putting this together. Remember, my mom is already put together and mine is flat.
I have to be a rebel. I just want to show you 2 different ways, which I think
Yeah.
is really important because we all craft slightly different.
Right.
Remember that this one in the back, I didn't bend the flap down. It's here, it's this one. I'm going to go ahead and put the insert on that one first.
Right, okay, and for mine, I'm actually putting designer series paper all the way across the top, omit the bottom with the little flap.
All right, so let's go ahead and add our adhesives to here. We're both using Stampin' Seal Plus. That's our favorite.
The best of the best.
Now remember, these flaps are going to come down. So I'm going to move mine so that you can actually see. And I'm going to work right through the box. That makes life super duper easy.
Oh,
And
you
there's-
put it all the way down.
I did.
I didn't do that.
Well, that's okay. I just thought this was a great way for me to use up this scrap piece of designer paper.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to work on the lower portion. Remember I told you, watch, this folds flat. This paper has a direction, so you need to be really careful if you've got paper that has a direction to it, that they're all facing the right way, because I made that mistake. Have you ever done that?
I have. It's very annoying.
It is annoying, because then you try to rip that off. It's never fun, is it?
No, you basically ruin the cardstock.
You do. So we're going to go ahead and add this. This is going to go to my lower panels. I decided to make my lower panels different than my upper panels, just for fun.
That's nice.
Are yours all the
Mine
same?
are all the same.
Okay, I'm flipping that over.
Now what I'm doing is all my top panels are done, including the one that we didn't score, because that's going to be our back. Now I'm flipping it over, and I suggest flipping it like this. And what we're going to do now is just cover designer series paper on these 3 panels, not the panel closest to the little flap.
I like the way you're doing it, actually.
Yeah, I feel like it's easier, but I definitely think the way that you adhered your box together is much easier than the way I did it.
Why, did you just hold it up?
Oh
and
yeah, I
do it
had
the
to
hard
try
way?
to line it up. Oh man.
All right, so now keep in mind these flaps are going to come down.
Yes.
Now you'll recall that this is where I seamed it. So I'm going to put the designer series paper that mimics this on these panels. Do you like the silicone craft sheet?
I do. You know why? Because it emits adhesive, hot glue, liquid glue.
I know.
I love it. I'm messy crafter.
Terrible. Well, I think we all are. You know, we get excited to put things together and we use too much adhesive, we use too much glue, which is why you will not see me using much glue.
Okay, awesome. So mine is all put together while she's finishing her flaps. Let me show you how I put together the box when it's flat. Okay, as she continues, I'm gonna flip the box over to the 3 panels and start adding adhesive to that mini flap that's gonna put our box together. So now I'm gonna get ready to put my box together. I do think my mom's way was a little bit easier for this. So I'm just gonna try to line up the edge to the edge the best that I can. And once that's done, I'm just gonna go ahead and flatten it out, making sure it's nice and together.
Yeah, and you know what? That's not a bad thing because we don't all cut and score evenly.
Right.
So that's just another way you can create the same thing without having to worry about if it matches up or not.
Okay, now we're gonna work on the bridges for this box. It's very important that this pop-up box has bridges.
Right.
And you're gonna see why in just a little bit. We both have 2 1.5 by 3 pieces of cardstock, and we went ahead and scored them on the 1/2 inch on either side.
Right. That's going to, so we can brace it to the inside of the box.
Exactly.
So we're just going to use that bone folder that we both love, and we are going to crease up on those edges to make it easier for them to stay on the inside of the box.
Right.
Now this is the part where they're probably thinking, oh heck,
How does that happen, right?
How are we going to get those in
Right.
there? Because they're literally going to suspend in the center of this box. So I'm going to show you how I did it. But
And
I
I'll
can't
show you how I did it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and get adhesive on both of these end
Me
tabs
too.
here. All right, so I've put the Stampin' Seal Plus on both ends.
Same.
Now what I'm going to do is I am going to come here to the center of my box and I'm going to just slightly bend it to make it easier for my hand. Where you position these, I think
It doesn't really matter.
no, I think it's really up to you. So I'm going to place this first bridge against here, and I'm just kind of pushing my hands down on the inside. Now this one is loose. Doesn't matter which end you work on, you know that, right? So I'm looking visually just to see that it's going to be about straight, because you don't want a crooked bridge unless, of course, you're doing that on purpose. All you're going to do is you're going to close up the box, and literally what's going to happen is it's going to slide right into a straight position,
awesome.
and then I'm going to press. So there you go. So that gives me one. Now I've got one other.
Let me show you how I did mine.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay, so what I did is I'm also going to work back to front. I'm going to slide that in both sides, but don't tack either side down yet. Kind of figure out where you want to keep it. And then I'm just making sure that one side is level with the top of the open box. And I squish down. I don't put it flat. I find that doesn't always work for me. I don't know, maybe I'm just unable to do that. And then I just ensure that the other side is measured up the same length, and I press on that side as well.
That's it?
Fine. Yeah, that's it.
It doesn't come apart?
Doesn't come apart.
Go figure. All right. Tomato, tomato,
Right.
Okay. So now we're going to put the second bridge in. And again, the positioning in these is entirely up to you. So I'm going to kind of press this one in place, because remember, Stampin' Seal Plus is really, really strong. And then this one, I'm just going to do the same thing I did before. I'm just squishing my box closed, and I'm going to press.
Perfect.
So there we go. And you can see that our bridges are entirely different places. So
Yep.
there's really no right or wrong. It's just
No.
that's just going to help for our images.
Exactly. And your images are a little bit bigger than mine.
All right, let's go do some stamping.
Let's stamp. We're both using different stamp sets. I'm using Stellar Birthday. I love this set. I'm such a sucker for whimsical stamp
So
sets.
cute. I love
You'll
it.
always see me using whimsical stamp sets because I also love to color. So that's my thing.
Me too. Coloring is therapy. And I love that there's both a girl and a boy
I
in
love
here.
that too.
It's not
Yeah.
gender specific. I'm going to be using the Sweet as a Peach bundle.
Yes, and I also love about the stamp set that it's distinctive.
Yep. Which means that when you stamp it, it's going to look more realistic like a photograph than a stamped image. But boy, I'm going to teach you a cool technique with this
Yeah,
peach.
let's get started with that.
I've got my basic white cardstock here, and I'm going to be using several ink pads. And I like to ready those before we get started. So I've got Calypso Coral, and then I have the Pale Papaya. Let me move my other ones off camera. And we are going to start with that peach image. You're going to do this technique with the lightest color first. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink that up, and I'm going to leave that face up on my work surface. I've got a sponge dauber. You're going to want to have a little scratch paper there. Sometimes if your ink pad is really juicy, it's going to be too strong. So if you tap off a little bit, that'll allow you to control that coverage.
For sure.
And then look what I'm doing. I'm just adding a little density here and there.
That's so cool.
And then we're going to stamp, and then look.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
I always wondered how you did that.
Isn't that fun?
Yeah.
You're going to want to clean your stamp. I'm doing that right off camera. That's super duper important. You never want to put it right back into your ink pad. Otherwise, you're going to make a muddy mess.
Exactly.
I'm sure they're wondering, if picking up ink from here into here is going to be a problem.
Right.
It's not. Remember, this is the lightest color. This is the darkest color. I work in the corner, which is where we not typically are gravitating when we're inking.
Exactly.
I have never had a problem, but I love this. Now, one thing about sponge daubers I want to point out, a lot of people don't know that you can clean them with just regular dish soap and water and let them air dry. As long as all the pigmentation is gone, you're able to use them in other colors. And you're going to see how no two of these are going to be alike, which is great because no two pizzas are alike, right? Now, what I did is I took this just a step further and I brought in the early espresso ink and I grabbed the words sweet as a peach and I'm going to ink that up and I'm actually going to place that on top of one of those peaches because it's going to hold part of our greeting for this.
Love that.
Another tip for you, I use my grid paper to my advantage. I stamp off all that excess ink before I put it on my chamois or my scrub.
Exactly.
Because that's going to reduce your trips to rinsing that out when it gets really mucky. Okay, so I did that for my peaches. And here's the other great thing about the stamp set. It has coordinating dies.
Love that.
Okay, now I want to talk to you about the leaves because we want a two-tone there as well. So this time I'm going to be using Pear Pizzazz ink, which is one of my favorite greens.
I do love that.
And it matches that designer series paper.
Perfectly.
Yeah, that's Stampin' Up! Coordination is a great thing. You're going to need a dye-based marker. Never, ever, ever take an alcohol-based marker to your stamps.
Nope, ruined.
Ask me how I know that. Because I try to experiment. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to ink this up. You're going to see that this is actually kind of large compared to this. So you can do it this way if you feel confident. I'm always afraid I'm going to miss a spot.
That's what I do too. Flip it.
Yep, face up.
So much easier.
And it makes sure that you don't miss an area. But I don't want my branches in all this green. So watch. This is my early espresso marker.
Oh my gosh.
Now you might be thinking, Lisa, you're messing up your marker. No, I'm not. Because remember, this is a very dark color. And I'm going to give you a tip about that in just a second. So I'm just looking as closely as I can to go over those branch areas where these are going to connect. And then we are going to stamp it. And now you have two colors.
Wow.
I know, this is great.
Okay.
Again, if you're going to repeat that process, you need to make sure that you clean that stamp. Now, you're probably worried about your marker. Don't sweat it. Just going to take it on your paper and you're very lightly going to take off any pigmentation. I probably wouldn't like take, you know, a really light color over black. That probably wouldn't be smart, but this works great. You're looking at those openings and you're probably thinking, what the heck happened there? Well, it's okay because there's another stamp in this stamp set that has these fabulous peaches. Now, it's the exact same technique I just shared with you. And I'm just going to pull out my little peaches here so that you can see them. And I love that they're smaller sizes because these are going to fit in this die cut image.
So cute.
Isn't that cute? But I want to show you one other thing I did with this. There is a trio of flowers in that stamp set. And I'm going to go ahead and ink those up. And that is in that papaya ink. I love that color.
I do too.
And I'm going to stamp that here. There's a little tiny flower center. And I'm going to do that in the early espresso. But it was a little bit dark. So I'm going to stamp off. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it here in the center of those flowers.
Oh my
and it just adds that little bit of realism. And don't even worry if they're not in the center because, you know, looking at the positioning of your flower.
Yeah.
The great thing again is we have dies for everything. Now, I do want to talk to you a little bit about the dies. Now, let me bring in those pieces that I die cut. Now, I've got some other ones here too that I didn't show you because it's the exact same technique. It's just a different leaf, okay? And then I have got those flowers here as well. I did take the liberty of bringing in some scrap Pear Pizzazz cardstock because look, there's little tiny leaves and flowers here.
Cute.
I mean, you can just go crazy.
Yeah.
And you can build them on the branch, which is what I love. So I die cut some of those as well. Now, I know you're looking at this going, it's a lot of pieces, but wait till I show you the best part. Because there is a separate die for all of these pieces, guess what you can do? You're literally going to take each individual piece and you are going to line them up all on your paper at one time.
Okay.
And then I bring in one of my
I love that thing.
This is from my craft room favorites.
Yes.
If you have not been to my website at lisastampstudio.com, click on shop and craft room favorites. There are products there that I don't sell in my online store because they're not Stampin' Up! Products, but I've fallen in love with them because they aid me with what I need. I'm going to anchor every single one of these down one pass through the die cutting machine.
I
use the
love
Stampin'
that.
Cut.
Yes.
Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. Everything is done at one time.
Yep.
Which is how I got all this. So this didn't take time at all.
No, and it doesn't shift when you go
It
through
doesn't.
the tape.
No, yep.
Right.
Everything's going to line up perfectly.
Awesome. All right, so let's work with Stellar Birthday now that my mom has hers all set up and ready to
Yes.
go. I'm actually going to be using this guy astronaut. I love him. All of my friends are starting to have birthdays for their little kids, and it's,
wow.
it's just the cutest thing
Feeling
ever.
old, huh,
I
honey?
know, I'm feeling so old. All right, so I'm taking my astronaut. I have a piece of scrap paper. All right, and I'm taking my Memento ink. Now, you're probably wondering, why are you using Memento ink? And that's because I'm going to be using the Stampin' Up blends. I love those blends.
The
They're
Stampin' blends,
alcohol ink base, and you're going to see exactly why I love that. Again, I'm turning this over, especially because this star right here, I noticed didn't always ink up when I was doing it normal ways.
Really?
So I wanted to make sure I squished it in there,
It's
right?
a great tip, especially with red rubber stamps.
Mm-hmm. And then I'm just going to make sure firm, even pressure. Again, make sure you get that star area. I noticed that didn't always stamp. Perfect.
Oh, look how cute it is.
I know, isn't he adorable? All right, so I'm going to show you two different tips. The first tip is going to be how to use these blenders when you have a big work surface, like right here in his helmet, for example.
Great.
I like using the thicker side for this when I have a larger area, but the great thing about the Stampin' Blends is it has a thick side and a thin side, and I'm going to show you how to use both. So it doesn't matter which color you use, the light or the dark. I gravitate towards the light first, so I'm just going to color that in real quick so you can see.
They go on like butter, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's so smooth. This brush tip is literally butter. Now I'm going to take my darker gray and I'm going to start just outlining the top, and you're going to see in just a second the two difference.
So you're adding just a little bit to the outside?
Just a little bit to the outside. Again, there's no right or wrong way of doing this. It's totally up to you. I'm going back to that light gray and I'm going to start pulling in that dark into the light. And what's going to happen is that alcohol-based marker is really going to start working its magic. And you can start to see once it evaporates, it starts blending together.
Oh, wow. It sure makes you look professional, doesn't it?
It really does, and it's super simple. I
Yeah.
think people often get, deterred from using these because they're not good colors. But I feel like the blends do all the work. All you have to do is put them down.
Yeah, I agree. And they're so affordable.
Yes, I love that. I have every color.
That makes two of us.
Right. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me show you how to use this thin tip side. Again, there is a picture, and it's also depicted by a thicker line and a thinner line. I am using the ivory and the bronze markers. I'm opening up that ivory, and I'm going to use this for his hair. Again, I'm using the lighter color first.
Wow, for his hair.
Yes, and I love, love, love using this thinner side for these smaller detailed images. And the reason is, although I'm using Memento ink, sometimes that alcohol from the blends gets stuck to that Memento inks and it starts to bleed.
Yeah, well, what happens is alcohol spreads.
Exactly.
So you're going to want to make sure you stay within the lines.
Exactly, and that's why I use the thinner side. Switching over to my bronze,
Really? I would have never put those together.
I'm going to just outline the top of his hair just like that, a little bit. And then, again, we're going back, letting it dry just a little bit because it's alcohol.
Yeah,
You
it's
want to
gotta
make sure it
evaporate.
evaporates. Now I'm going to pull that color, and you can kind of see it probably a little bit better in this smaller area, how it's really just pulling that color together.
I love it because it gives him a really light brown color hair.
Yes, I didn't want his hair to be too dark because his astronaut outfit was dark.
Yes, yeah, good point. And the great thing about the Stampin' Blends is you can make hair color about anything. But this is
Exactly.
a great tip because almost everybody's going to have those skin tone markers that you just showed. And if they don't have all the variety of shades, this teaches them how to make
100%.
Love
100%.
that. Love that.
Now, this stamp set does not come with dies, all right? So don't be deterred. I know all my fussy cutter haters out there are like, oh no! But don't be worried, okay? I'm going to show you a quick tip on how to fussy cut. I'm grabbing my paper snips. Now, when you fussy cut, do not cut along this black border. Leave yourself a little leeway. And that's going to actually help you not to cut exactly around, but it's also going to help when you have dimension on a card for it not to look like you messed up a little bit when you're fussy cutting.
Right. None of us can cut straight.
No. And remember, stamping's supposed to be fun. I find a lot of joy in fussy cutting. It's
I
kind
do
of therapeutic
too.
for
I
me.
do too. Do you remember the
Yeah.
days of paper dolls? Anybody else out there that can remember that? You probably don't know what I'm
Yes.
talking about, do you?
No idea. I had Polly Pockets.
Yeah, there you go. Well, yeah. No, back in the day, we used to have paper dolls, and sometimes they were perforated, but the perforation on the paper was never good.
Right.
So we'd have to break out the scissors, right?
Right.
I find, too, cutting the cardstock smaller like that is a big difference.
Yes.
And you can see how she's leaving white cardstock around that image, which is critical to not distorting the actual image itself.
Exactly. And you have these little small areas like in his hands and whatnot, but just do the absolute best you can.
Do you see what she's doing? She's turning her hand and not her scissors.
Exactly.
So always say no contortionist coloring or cutting.
Exactly. So after he's all colored and cut, this is what he looks like. Isn't he adorable?
So cute. Now that we have all of our pieces, we still need to do a little bit of stamping for the back of our
Right.
card. Okay, so I've got a tiny piece.
And I have a large piece. My piece is cut at 1 7/8 by 5 3/8. And it's really important to note that we're both using thick basic white. And why is that?
Well, it's going to hold up a lot better for your card, especially if you're going to use white for your card base. You definitely want to do that. Now, Gina's going to stamp a greeting, but I'm going to do a flower. And I didn't want to use all these flowers because I want to leave room here for a greeting or to sign the back of the card. So I want to show you one of the beautiful things about photopolymer stamps. So here is that papaya ink pad once again. You can actually just stamp one of these if you'd like. So just gravitate your stamp into the corner of your ink pad like so. And you can see that I'm just getting that one flower. And the stamp actually turns the color of the ink. So I'm going to stamp that right there. And then just like we've done before, I've got that early espresso ink here. I'm going to ink up that little center. We'll stamp that off. And then we've got that here. And this stamp set has beautiful greetings. So you can add one for the back here, or you can leave a little small area here for you to sign. Or
You can have a large area.
there
for
you
to
go.
sign.
So lots of options.
Okay, so before we put the rest of the card together, let's get that backside going.
Again, I'm going to fold that box flat. This is how it's going to fit in an envelope. And the upper back here is going to get tacked on with our greeting. And then there you go. So now this is the inside and the back of the card, and then our greeting here.
Yes, and I love that this card just folds absolutely flat, isn't it?
It's
Awesome.
amazing because it's going to fit in the envelope perfectly. All right, now let's talk about how we're going to get our images in there, because the whole point of this box is
It's a pop-up.
it pops up.
Yeah. So we have pre-cut window sheets, and these window sheets can be any size, but we found a 1/2 inch really works best for us. But you can make them any length. These are both 2 inches. I found 3 inches works, 4 inches works. It really just depends on how high you want each piece to be.
Now, if you don't know what a window sheet is, that's Stampin' Up's name for acetate.
Right. All right, so while my mom puts hers together, I'm going to show you some tips on how I put mine together. I'm going to grab my astronaut. I'm going to flip him over, and I'm going to grab dimensionals. I love these, don't you?
I do. Love them. Go through lots. I'm adding a little adhesive to the top of my window sheet.
Okay, and I'm actually going to grab 2. And why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to make sure he popped out from that window sheet. And all I'm doing is stacking them together.
So it's going to have a little bit more depth.
Exactly. And now I'm going to pick him up, take my little window sheet, and put the window sheet and him together, just like that. I'm going to kind of tilt him a little bit. I want to make sure that he looks like he's floating.
Oh my gosh, that's brilliant. Now, I used regular adhesive to attach mine. Since this is the Stampin' Seal Plus, I'm not at all worried about that.
Exactly.
So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do that one. And I've got my other peach.
And I'm doing the same exact thing to my dog.
Now, this is where the width of your acetate or your window sheet comes into play, because I've picked the largest flower, and depending on how I put this, the window sheet can show, right? So you can always trim this and make this narrower.
Exactly. But also remember, you have 3 inches of depth in those bridges.
Yeah, we sure do. So I'm going to take this stem and I'm going to add that here to this top flap. I am going to turn this over, and this is where I'm going to use my dimensionals to my advantage. Because the dimensionals are a specific size, I find that a lot of customers like to cut them in half, but you know, I'm not a big fan of that because we have mini dimensionals, and I absolutely love these. You do want to make sure that this is balanced. Please remember that you are going to mail your card, so you're going to want to make sure that you have these kind of strategically placed so that it's going to come out well balanced on the other end. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my stem now, and I'm actually going to tip this. Now, don't be too concerned about areas that stick outside the perimeter of the card, because that's all going to overlap. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to work in my other pieces. So I've got my small peaches here, and I'm going to turn those upside down here on my silicone craft sheet, and we're going to add a full-size dimensional to these. And I'm going to take my larger one, and I'm going to fit that right here where that stem is.
Super cute.
Yeah, isn't that fun? I love how this works together so well. And then this one's going to go here, and you either go up or under that stem, and I'm going to put my other one here.
Adorable.
Isn't that cute? Really great for the front flap, and a great way to use those stamps and dies.
Right.
I've got the small flower here, and I'm going to grab myself a dimensional. I'm going to add that here, and I decided to place this third one. You know, since they die cut all of them, right? Might as well use them. I'm going to place that right on top of this.
Love
so
that.
we've got even a little extra elevation here. Now I want to add my peach. Now what I did is I added adhesive here to the bottom front.
Interesting, because I used a glue dot.
I wonder if that works. Did you find that easier than adhesive?
I mean, I didn't try the adhesive method, but I feel like it worked better.
I'm going to place my peach right here down in the front and center.
I'm going to place my astronaut towards the right about halfway. I'm just going to squeeze that.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute.
Right.
All right, now it's a matter of building. Now, you know my flower? I decided to add a little bit more adhesive to this. And this time, I'm going to kind of put this near here, the bottom.
Adorable.
I know.
And I'm putting my dog on that front bridge and putting him a little bit lower than my astronaut.
Well, let me show you what I did with my front bridge. I took this other peach, now I'm going to add adhesive down here across the bottom, just one strip. And I'm actually putting it here and adhering it right to the bridge.
That's adorable.
The great thing about this is if you have larger images,
right,
you don't need to have the little suspension pieces. You can actually add them to the bridge. But the suspension, in my opinion, is what this is all about. Now, of course, I've got other pieces here, so I'm going to continue to embellish that while you go ahead and finish.
Awesome. So you can see that I still have a rocket ship and the Saturn. I'm going to take my mini dimensional, flip over my Saturn, and just put one. I'm going to put that right over here and give it a little tiny bit of a twist so he's not perfectly straight. Remember, we're in space, so nothing is straight. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my larger dimensionals, and now as you can see, we're starting to get dimension here, but if I just put one dimensional on the back of this rocket and place him right here, the Saturn and the rocket are going to be the same height, and I didn't want that. So I'm going to use the same technique of stacking those dimensionals.
Oh, that's so
do
smart.
One, and then I'm going to do the other. And then I'm going to go ahead and tilt my rocket. And remember, if your rocket or whatever you're using comes off this backing or off the sides or whatever, don't worry about that, because remember, this folds flat. And now you can see that my rocket has a little bit more dimension than my Saturn. Isn't that cute?
It is adorable. Now, the one great thing about my dies is it includes this little label die, so it holds this. So watch, I'm going to make a phrase. I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to add one here to the back. Now, I love the shape of these, and they're so purposeful so that you can position them just right to get them to fit on there so they don't show.
Yeah, I love that.
And this is where my take your pick tool comes into play. I'm going to bring in my box now, and I'm going to lay this flat for you to see, and then look, I'm going to put this right across here, across the top. Oh, it's so
adorable.
Cute. Now I have some other pieces, and you can go ahead and add those, but I'm really happy with it just the way that it is.
It's super cute. Now, the only thing mine is missing is what?
Oh yeah, you don't have a greeting.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and do that real quick.
Okay.
I pre-stamped Have a Stellar Birthday, and this is going to be my greeting. I'm just going to flip that over, and I'm going to add 2 dimensionals to the back. Remember, you can never be too overzealous with dimensionals, especially when you're sending stuff through the mail.
Yes. Oh my gosh, don't you love all the cute greetings
in
here?
I love it. And there you go. Look how adorable that is.
So
There's
cute.
the back.
But I want to show you how to fold this flat. So you're just going to push the card flat. On mine, you can see my leaves are sticking out. So I'm just going to kind of reposition these down, and then it's going to fit inside the envelope.
Yep.
If you have a little tiny hangover,
don't worry about it. It still fits.
It does. It fits great.
Now let's go ahead and show them the other samples we have, because we have 6 samples.
Yeah, so we've got 4 others.
All right, here's my second sample. This is using Plentiful
Oh,
Plants.
that's adorable. That brick paper, I love that.
It's adorable. And again, I just put the DSP on the back there, did no stamping to the back, but have a nice big area for your
This is
greeting
great.
writing.
So same white panel and just a small strip of scrap.
Exactly.
Great way to use up those scraps. And the dies for this bundle
They're
are
perfect.
amazing.
And you can see I didn't do any stamping right here. I just used the dies from the bundle.
So cute. Mine uses tidings and trimmings.
Love
and
it.
this bundle is great for the stockings as well as these little accoutrements here for your stockings and the bow. put my greeting down here with white embossing. And again, you can see that I used 2 different designer series papers.
Adorable.
Look at those little holly berries. Those
I
are the
know.
red rhinestones.
Those are gorgeous.
Really pretty.
And did you use Wink of Stella up here?
I did because I love shimmer.
It's so cute. And for my final project, I used Peekaboo Farm. Like I said, I am such a sucker for these whimsical
So
stamps.
cute.
And if you look really closely, it might be hard to see on camera, but I did stamp the bricks on the bridges, which come in the stamp set.
So cute.
Yes.
And I have to say, your coloring is really amazing.
Thank
Good
you. I
job.
do love coloring.
Great. All right, my last one I think is a sleeper
Love it.
product. This is called Batik Boutique.
Yes.
Don't want to say
Mouthful.
that really.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful. But that paper that goes with it, this is the symmetry paper, is
Beautiful.
fantastic with the stamp set as well. And you can see kind of hung over my
I
little
love
leaves
that.
to the
Great
front of the
idea.
bridge. And again, I adhered these right to the bridge where this one has the window sheets. So there we go. We have 6 samples in
Look at all
here. We're
these.
trying to get them all in your camera view. We would love to know your favorite.
Yes, let us know down in the comments below if you have more than one favorite. Obviously, just list them all.
We have been really excited to share with you today.
Yes, so let's flip the camera back over and tell them a little bit more about that project sheet. All right, so those are our projects. I hope you loved them. Let's quickly show them how this fits in an envelope.
Yeah, because we know there's some doubting Thomases out there.
Yeah.
So like I said, you're just going to fold it flat. And then here is our medium-sized envelope. And we are just going to tuck that
fit right
right
there.
down inside. Make sure you get your little flaps down inside there as well. And there we go.
Love it.
All ready to go. Don't forget to stamp a little something on that envelope
Right.
too.
Now, remember, you can download this project sheet now. It's going to be in the comments if you're with us in the live chat. Or you can go underneath this video in the video description and click there. It has everything.
Yep, all the pictures for each of the projects, multiple photos is
Oh, yeah.
all the supplies and all the cutting dimensions.
Which I know you're going to want.
Thanks so much for being with us today. It was really fun
I
stamping
loved
with
it.
you.
Yeah, it was fun. We should do this more often.
Definitely. Thanks again for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Have a great day.